Today I want to talk about something that's uncomfortable for a lot of people to talk about. How are you going to feel after you're done being a caregiver? What are some of the emotions that you think you're going to go through after your parent passes? It's a huge transition, and it's something we don't talk a whole lot about, but understanding what you might feel ahead of time can make the actual moment a little less overwhelming. I'm Tammy Provencal. I'm a physical therapist, a life coach, and one of the caregivers for my 90-year-old mom. I started this channel to be a resource for caregivers, especially of an aging parent where the relationship can be so challenging. Most of us think about the word grief when we think about losing someone. And grief is psychologically defined as the emotions we go through when we lose someone. And it can be a mix of emotions, from depression to sadness to frustration to anger to denial, and for some people, numbness and confusion. But all of these emotions help us to process our grief. They help us to acknowledge the pain of the loss. They help us to think of ways that we can continue to honor the person that we've lost. And they can help us to see ways that we can go on in our life without this person in it. And as caregivers, we don't only grieve the loss of our parent, we also can sometimes grieve the loss of the role that we played as caregivers. And that's a huge emotion that lots of caregivers describe feeling. For many of us, we've spent years or decades caring for our parent, and it's become part of who we feel like we are. And so when that's all of a sudden gone, we feel lost. We don't know who we are anymore. And that's a very normal feeling to feel once we've lost our parent. You also might feel isolation and loneliness. Losing someone that close to you, and even if it wasn't a particularly happy time, there's routines that are set that are lost now. There's connections and relationships that you have with your parent that are gone now. And for a lot of us, we've had to focus on caregiving, so we've distanced ourselves from other relationships. And so when our parent passes, we can feel like there's nobody there for us, and it can feel very lonely. And then you also might feel guilt and regret. You might tell yourself that you should have done more, you should have kept them safer. If you had been there, they might not have fallen. And then we can beat ourselves up. But then along with that, we might feel a sense of relief, a relief that the suffering is over for our parents and it's over for us too. But then that relief that we feel, we might then make ourselves guilty for feeling that. For some people, it just feels morally wrong to feel relief for somebody who's passed, especially in such a close relationship. But it's a very normal feeling to feel. So those are some of the feelings that people talk about feeling after their parent passes. But grief can be a positive thing too. Being able to see positive things through the negative or sad things that we go through is a way to find reason for what we're going through. It reframes the experience that we're going through, and that can be really powerful. So when it comes to the feeling of grief itself, going through grief can transform us. Also, as we think back on the job that we just did as a caregiver to our parent, we can acknowledge the strength and the resilience it took to go through that. Once my uncle passed away, as one of the caregivers, there was guilt, there was definitely sadness for the loss, but as I looked back on the whole picture, it was actually a beautiful time, and I'm so thankful that I was able to be there. And it actually helped me to be a better person and a better therapist, because I could actually see more of the relationship dynamics that happen in a close family relationship as a caregiver. That helped me as a therapist to not only focus on the patients that I see, but their families. And that has made a huge difference in how I am as a physical therapist. When we think about our sense of identity being lost once we're no longer a caregiver, this could be an opportunity for us to redefine who we are, to think about the things that we might have always wanted to do that we put aside thinking we'd have time later, And then we got so caught up in the caregiving role that we actually had to kind of put our life on hold for a while. Feeling no identity or feeling a loss of identity can actually be a good thing because we can define who we want to be. When it comes to isolation and loneliness, we can take the opportunity to reconnect with people that we have lost connection to because we were caregivers. We can put ourselves out there more again. We can reconnect with old friends and we can make new connections with new people. And because of the loss of some of those old connections, including with our immediate family, this feeling of loneliness and isolation could actually drive us to try to make deeper connections with our family. We might prioritize our family more because we've had a period of time where we couldn't. And when it comes to guilt and regret, we can reframe that. We can look at the feeling of guilt and regret as I did the best that I could with the knowledge I had at the time. It's so easy for us to understand or learn things and then look back and say, I should have done that. But in that moment, did we actually know the right thing to do? Most of the time, we didn't. And can you forgive yourself? Are you able to, even if there are actual things that you feel really bad about, can you forgive yourself? We're all human. We all make mistakes. We're all going to keep making mistakes. Sometimes it helps to think, what would our parent want for us? Would they want us to feel guilty? Would they want us to feel regret? How would they want us to move on with our life? I know today's video was uncomfortable, but it's part of life. It's at some point our caregiving journey is going to end and we're going to have feelings. So if we anticipate what some of those feelings might be and we can actually reframe them before they happen, or we can at least see some positives in them, sometimes that can help. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe and put any comments in the comment section below.